Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Ricky with Lone Pine Profit. Hope your morning is off to a great start. I'm going to start sharing my screen so you guys can see exactly what it is that I'm looking at. I was looking at a couple stocks during pre-market hours, mainly ETFs, and checking out how their futures were trading. I want to have a little bit of a better understanding of, what is trending up and their overall direction, and if something is a little bit more on the overbought side. I know a lot of people were talking about DGAS and the overall uptrend. So DGAS had a resistance right around $15. I'm just going to start sharing my screen so you guys can see what I'm looking at. But first of all, I want to thank you guys again for taking time out of your busy morning and tuning in to this live stream. I hope you guys learned something new, and I really hope that you guys enjoy. So one thing that I was able to identify right now during pre-market hours was that I saw right away that DGAS was showing signs of an uptrend. How do we know that? So what indication are we getting that DGAS is pushing up, right? Well, first of all, let's understand its overall highs, right? So overall highs based off of patterns off of Friday is around 15.20, right? It sold off down to about $14, and then it started trading between the middle and middle and top view up. And what's the pattern that it started showing? It started showcasing higher highs and higher lows as well, doing this upward staircase pattern. I find that personally very attractive. Now the question is, how much longer is DGAS going to trend up before it becomes super overextended? Right? So what I did, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, right? 2-day, 5-minute chart, I looked at this overall support level that it had on Friday, and it was around 315 to 316, right? This general area of where it normally bounced at. If natural gas begins to bounce, that's then in favor of, again, like UGAS, which is the inverse of DGAS, which is, as of right now, UGAS is the one that's a little bit more on the oversold side. Make sense? So one thing that I just wanted to cover is, like, right now I'm having a difficult time understanding which one is going to continue to uptrend. Its current direction, the current one that's actively trending up is DGAS. There's no question about it. But it's so overbought that it makes sense on why it would begin to pull back. So does that justify that I should enter a position right now on UGAS? Does that mean that I should enter and buy UGAS right now? Because I think it's oversold and it's going to reverse. What do you guys think? And again, I'm using these as examples. Right? So again, there's a difference from something when it's in a good deal and something that's actually a good buy. As of right now, the EMA indicator is still pointing up. The overall direction is still pointing up. Yes, it's overbought. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my alert. And that means I have to be patient and I have to be disciplined to wait for this overall direction to change. I don't know if DGAS is going to continue to trend up and break above 1520 and begin to make higher highs. If so, then great. It'll probably be something that I'll want to scalp throughout the day, meaning buy and sell within the day. But also, just as much as it could continue to push up, it has that much of a probability for it to start to sell off because it's so overbought. Again, all I did was I identified, based on current highs, what current or relevant resistance, so previous highs, could act as a resistance. Very simple, kind of like a horizontal pattern, right? Now, based off previous lows, right around $14 is a general area of where we could identify as support. I think we could all agree on that, right? General area. So I've identified my support, I've identified my resistance. Now there's this margin, amazing margin, especially if you're able to lock in profits. Now I just have to ask myself, is it a good deal? Is it a good deal to buy DGAS right now? Probably not. So with that, then it makes sense on why then I want to maybe pay attention to this inverse ETF, right, of UGAS. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to set my alert for the break above 83. I like the MACD, I like the RSI here, and again, all I'm talking about when I'm using this as an example is how important it is to be extremely selective and patient before entering a position. Right? We've talked about it multiple times. Quick scalp on JNUG in 20 seconds. Let's check that out. I don't think JNUG is in my watch list. Here, sorry about that. Let me pop it up. Here we go. Okay, pretty aggressive sell-off. Okay, this would be more of a dip buy. Not something that I would really, again, what is it that we talked about last week? And I get it that like it makes sense on why it sold off so aggressively. So a dip buy opportunity, it's a higher form of risk trading. I've done it before. It's just it can continue to downtrend, right? So what is it that we focused on so aggressively last week that really led to our success in understanding why something was a good investment? Do you guys remember? So again, it's very difficult for people to understand what direction something is heading, if it's going up or if it's going down, when you only have, when someone tries to decide 5 minutes or 10 minutes or even 30 minutes after the market opens, they try to decide what they're going to invest in for the remainder of the day. How am I supposed to only collect and analyze 5, 30, 1 hour minutes of charts, and I have to decide what direction it's going to trade for the remaining 8 hours? Direction, right? So as of right now, JNUG was showing signs of a horizontal pattern during pre-market hours, and right as the market opens, it begins to sell off. There's signs of it making lower lows and lower highs. So what I'm going to do is, again, I only want to trade this if this thing begins to make higher highs. So I'm just going to set my alert, right? All I'm going to do right now is just set myself up for success. So it's just time to set alerts. TQQ showing signs of a potential peak formation. So I'm going to set an alert here as that is current highs. And then it looks like it might begin to make lower lows, which would then be in favor of its inverse ETF, SQQQ. There's 3 Qs in there. Here we go. We're getting it's consolidating. All right, so I did get an alert that ticker symbol BILI, which is one that we talked about yesterday, started to show signs of an uptrend. So it is up on the day, a little bit over 3%, but again, that all happened during pre-market hours. So as of right now, we're right around this like EMA line. Again, it still really hasn't identified it making higher highs in any way. So one thing that we can do is we can set a little bit more of an aggressive alert, which means a little bit of a tighter alert. I like the MACD. I like the RSI is okay, but I like the consistent pattern of the resistance right around $14 and the common support right around the SMA line. So again, the margin isn't huge. It's not bad, just something that we'll have to follow up with. So that's why it's in my active uptrend watch list, because I think it makes a lot of sense on, again, why I view it as to be a good deal. So LABU sold right off back again to $62, right in that support line, right? So now if LABU is at support, that means that LABD. So yeah, now we have another stock that is very oversold, right? So we could change this and set the alert on the potential reversal. And that means that LABD is going to be a little bit more on the overbought side, and not so much of a good deal. But again, we'll see what ends up happening. So LABD, again, I'm not trying to predict reversals, so I have to add that to my watch list as that is the one that's actively trending up. What do you guys think about ticker symbol GUSH? GUSH. What do you guys think about it? 180-day chart, right? Current 1 day, 1 minute chart, it's down on the day 2.23%. So obviously as a day trade, with its current state, it doesn't make much sense to trade it, right? It's currently actively trending down. It trended down all day Friday, right? So not something that you really want to invest in. But why is it? Why is it that it's even in my watch list? I'm going to have to remove it right now because it's not actively trending up. But why is it? Why would I even consider watching something like this? Let's be honest, right? So obviously it's not a perfect setup right now, but why is it that so many people are finding and keeping watching GUSH so closely? It's at a previous support, right? It's at a price point that it's known to have bounced at previously, right? Around $30 here and here. And then how it pushed up, got rejected by this SMA, pushed down, pushed up, continued to push up. But again, overall, the SMA line is really what's been acting as a resistance. But overall, what direction is this EMA pointing right now? Down, right? No signs of an uptrend just yet. So because of that, that means that this has earned its spot in the pending reversal watch list. But I'm going to remove it off of my active uptrend watch list because, again, I don't want to make the mistake of entering a position when I think it's going to potentially reverse and not actually reverse, right? And continue to hold something that is actively trending down. So I also set my alert on /CL because if this thing begins to show signs of a reversal, then Gush will most likely follow, as well as like UWT and DWT. So again, this is the one that's mainly at around that support line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my alert here. So UWT and DWT usually have lower volume, but DWT should be the one that's pushing up on the day. 4%, showing signs of a nice uptrend, looking at previous patterns at previous highs, right? So a little bit more on the overbought side. Diaz is not moving much. I don't know if it's just me, or if my TOS is frozen, but it looks like it really has a really strong resistance right around 1504. I've been really struggling to see it break above that as the market has opened, right? So it's showing signs of it being a little bit more on the overbought side. TQQ, we'll see where that goes. JNUG, there we go. Billy, LEBU, LEBD. UGAZ. ADM. Okay, so it's trying to show signs of a reversal. I'm going to still add this one to my pending reversal watch list. It's just not there yet. It's offering a horizontal pattern, so the overall lows, right, and the overall highs, that's less than 0.5%. Do you guys see this? The lows and the highs. Less than 0.5% of a margin of profit, about 0.5%. And that's if you play it perfectly. The opportunity cost and the margin, it's just not worth it for me. So because of that, I'm going to change, that overall. I'm just going to remove it from my watch list because it just doesn't make sense. Look at this. Do you guys see this thing forming? Okay, JNUG just broke above its resistance /GC. This is a perfect example of why you don't want to ever solely rely on one indicator, right? Because JNUG is trying to show signs of a reversal, but it doesn't look very bullish, right, for this downward pattern. So why is JNUG pushing up? So again, downward pattern, it's trying to show signs of a reversal, but if you want to have a little bit more of an understanding of its current direction, is that it's been making lower lows and lower highs as well. So it's still a downtrend pattern. So maybe something to look out for before taking a swing trade position or an overall position on something that you might not feel comfortable with. Gush just broke above its resistance. Okay, so we're getting a couple reversals. Do you guys mind if I continue to talk? I know I've been talking for a little bit. Do you guys mind if I can, I'm liking the reversal potential that, look at this. So it's still a little bit too early. Right? But we're getting signs of a potential reversal here. So the thing is, sweet, super happy to hear that. Okay, I think I'm going to need to be a little bit more patient. Because right now, look what happened during pre-market hours, and this is something that I have to make sense of. During pre-market hours, and I know I'm trying to be like as conservative as possible, but it sold off, it consolidated right around this like 82.40 area, right? It pushed up, it broke above the middle view up, then got rejected. So the middle view up is definitely acting as a resistance as of now, right? So this is a question that I want to ask myself. I'm trying to enter a position right now, right? Right as it's around the middle view up, but I'm becoming very impatient. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to take a 50% position right now, and then I'll add more later if it confirms. But again, what does a difference of 10 cents really matter? Why not just be overall, just wait for overall confirmation. So wait for the break above the middle VWAP, something that it's been struggling to do. And if it does that, great. But if it doesn't, and again, this is just my 2 cents. I know some of you guys probably already entered the position, but do you guys get to the point of what I'm saying? You guys and D guys, those are a little bit more consistent, but the reason that I'm trying to emphasize on this, on why it's so important to wait for the reversal, is because how many times have you entered a position right before you thought the confirmation was going to happen, and literally if you just would have waited a little bit longer, would have noticed that, hey, it never actually broke above its resistance. You could have waited 5 minutes for this, 5 cents that you were super selective and impatient about, right? All right. So we're getting a nice little push up though. So here we go. And again, it's been making lower highs, right? So this is something that I have to be a little, so it's been, lower highs and lower lows. So something that we really want to watch closely. And I know I'm probably being a dingleberry, but I want to, we did an amazing job last week, just being extremely selective and extremely patient in my eyes based off previous patterns. So like, let's say I identify $89, right, for you guys to be the resistance. And we identify this like $82 price point to be its overall support. This is a huge margin, right? Even from like, let's say $84. Let's say you're extremely patient for the overall reversal. This is huge, 6%. That is absolutely huge. That's about more than half of what my weekly goal is. How amazing would it be to be able to make that all in one day? Great. So there we go. We're starting to see signs of it making higher highs. So Amanita is saying, what is a dingleberry? It's just a joke that I don't like to like use like foul language within our chat. So instead of saying like, oh, that was like a dumb mistake that I made, I'm saying like, wow, that was a very like dingleberry mistake to make. Yeah, sorry. It's so, when someone like calls me out to say like, well, what does that mean? Like, it's kind of embarrassing to say like, it's not really that appropriate, but yeah, we just try to have fun with what we do. So it's a tasty fruit. There we go. Nice push up. Boom. Okay. So now this, I don't know why if my alerts are not going off or something like that, but now that it pushed up above the middle VWAP, what is it that like would be ideal for myself to wait for? Well, you got the push up above the middle VWAP, right? The push is happening. Pullback confirmation. Now we're all aware of that, right? So right now there's so many people that are going to try to enter as this thing breaks above $83. And it makes sense, 100%. But something that I've learned is that if I try to get in when everyone else is getting in, I get in where all the hype is present, when it becomes a little bit overbought and then it pulls back. And I'm like, okay, well, if I would have just waited, right? If I would have just waited for that pullback confirmation, not only do I get in at a better price point, because that's part of it, but not really. The whole point of the pullback confirmation is to confirm that now we're making higher lows, not trying to get in at the lowest price point, right? But we're focusing on getting in at a good deal. We're focusing on investing in stuff that are showing signs of an uptrend pattern. And then the last thing is that we are seeing signs of an overall change in direction and in pattern. That's what's important. Don't be so micro-focused in always trying to get the best deal possible. Like, that's something that you could refine as time goes on how could I have gotten at a better price point? 100%. That's something, an area of an improvement. So like for myself, an area of an improvement would be to, maximize my profits a little bit more, to not sell so early. But that's a very small issue to have. A bigger issue would be getting in before the confirmation or getting in before an overall change of direction. That's what's most important. So here we go. Did you guys see that it pushed up to about $83 and now it pushed back down to about $82.70? That's about 30 cents. That's a lot, right? And again, it's pulling back. We could see the MACD a little bit more on the descending side now. Are you concerned of how high the RSI is? Yes, and that's why I think that it could pull back before it can continue to uptrend. So again, looking at its overall direction, when it becomes a little bit more on the overextended side with the RSI, with the MACD, it pulls back and then again consolidates, gives it time, and then overall change of direction. So right now I'm looking at my phone as well. So I have that screen pulled up, and right now we're seeing a potential bounce off of the middle VWAP for DGAS. So what is it, again, as a pattern? Forget about DGAS. DGAS is completely irrelevant, right? DGAS is completely irrelevant, but what is it? If I'm trading one ETF, so let's say I want to trade UGAS, like I want that to be my play, right? But then right now DGAS just had a pullback. What is it that would, with a pattern, would indicate, okay, there's going to be a change of direction? The break below the middle VWAP, possibly, but with patterns, what would be like the most like key sign of something changing its overall direction? So what would influence you to want to trade UGAS, or the inverse ETF, I apologize, instead of the other ETF that we're currently watching? If the patterns were like this, what would it be? Starts to make lower lows, not higher. So higher lows for the other ETF, but the one that's currently actively trending up, the key indication of when I see that something is overbought, that's one thing. It can continue to uptrend, especially if the demand is still there. But the key indicator that I try to focus on is the change of direction. So the break below the middle VWAP, yes, that's one thing. But the overall pattern would be the the continuous pattern of it making lower lows, starting to show signs of an actual descending pattern. And how does that look like? When it begins to make lower lows and lower highs. So now we're getting really close to that, potential confirmation of, is this thing going to continue to make lower lows? And is it going to continue to make lower highs? That's something that we'll see in the next probably couple of minutes. There we go. TQQ selling off again. JNUG back at that $9 price point. Again, watch out with its overall resistance right around the SMA line. It sold off very aggressively on Friday. So you have to ask yourself, based on the current price point, let's say $9, to where the SMA line is that less than 1% margin of profit worth your day trade or worth your time? Something to ask yourself, right? LABU with a huge sell-off just broke below $60. LABD making higher highs above 35.30. So LABU, bearish on the day, right? So LABD is the one that's pushing up. Now here we're getting a change of direction. So I'm just going to set my alert and then go from there. Can you look at WTI? Of course. So WTI should follow like /CL. So it should be pretty inconsistent right now, as in it's probably not going to have a So I'm having trouble understanding what direction this is going for a swing trade as well. It's just consolidating, which there's no confirmation of direction, especially on the 1 day, 1 minute chart. You could see the overall lows, you could see the overall highs. You could try to treat it as a horizontal pattern. And if you think that the margin of profit is worth it, 2% isn't bad from lows to highs, and it confirms that overall reversal, something that you could potentially look into, right? But as of right now, yeah, I would agree that there's no overall general confirmation. Yeah, LABD is killing it. I agree. And again, it's just focusing on whatever's showing signs of an uptrend. Yes, LABD is a little bit more on the overbought side, but try to understand its pattern. Try to understand, again, how you could still get in for a good deal. Again, right now it's really overbought. This wouldn't be my forte of trying to trade something that is this overbought. So again, still with the principle, I want to focus on something that's a good deal. And as of right now, it's just not showing that. So nice, huge push up. Okay. Made a big loss today going off of hype, traded NETE, broke all my rules. What's NETE? Okay. And this is something that like we've talked about it multiple times, and you could easily tell that looking at previous volume and how much volume it experienced today, that there's a form of hype manipulation that's going on. And you're going to see, and I have nothing against them, right? But you're going to see that there's going to be a lot of YouTubers, especially a lot of people like on stock twits, that encourage you to trade very low cap momentum stocks. And that's great if you know how to trade them. And if you have experience trading them. And there's always a way that you can test it out with paper trading and simulation trading. One of my biggest pet peeves is when you try to get a newer trader to invest in momentum stocks when they already have a difficult time understanding when to enter and when to exit. If you don't understand like what's really causing this demand, or when to enter and when to exit, and how to manage your risk, like what would be viewed as a break of pattern, what would be viewed as something overbought and lock in profits, then why are you trading it, right? It's a mistake that I made when I was not even when I was just getting started. It's just something that I want to make sure that everyone is well aware of. So before entering these trades, I just want you to at least prepare yourself mentally for this, as it could be a make it or break it. And that's why I've been trying to reiterate on all my live streams how important it is for you to understand what it is that you're investing in. So first of all, I'm really sorry that you experienced like the loss today on NETE, but you'll see, again, a bunch of YouTubers are going to post that they did well with it, and that's great, but it's also like their dollar amount, their account value that they're trading with, and they're able to scalp this nonstop, which is something that a lot of, newer traders aren't able to do. So just something to put into perspective. And also, just as great of green days that they have, the red days are just as big, right? And that's something that you have to ask yourself. Are you someone that could really manage experiencing those huge like fluctuations in your account? That's not something. I'm someone that's very consistent, and I would rather focus on consistent growth, regardless if it's not huge. But I think just small and consistent like wins the game. And that's just been my approach in almost like every form of market that I invest in, right? I like that. So best thing is I removed all the pump and dump stocks from my watch list. It's all about how you take initiative in providing that structure, and you begin to say more no than you do yes. Because again, you become more selective, and you want to make sure that whatever you choose to invest in is actually a good deal. So do I do any long-term investing? So not in the stock market. Yeah, I think I've talked about that before. So a Ricky question, if you can. So LEBD is probably going to be too late for... Let's check it out. Okay, here's a pullback on LEBD. Well, we're experiencing like overall highs, right? So it's around $36, which is, the overall MACD and all that stuff. Like, yeah, it's still showing signs that it can potentially continue to trend up, as it's not that overbought. And based on previous highs, like, yes, it can continue to push up. It's just, again, are you getting the best deal possible, or does it have, based on relevant patterns, as much margin to sell off than it does to continue to uptrend? Just something that you want to ask yourself, right? As of right now, it's just a little bit too much on the overbought side, so I wouldn't view it as a swing trade whatsoever. The risk is just too high for me. It's too much of a make it or break it. Trade less, profit more. I like that. So and again, this is just my opinion, but this overall like statement of like, but momentum stocks can earn you so much more. Again, it's kind of a make it or break it. So the odds are just not in our beginner traders like favor, right? With the statistics of how many people lose money in the market, and the overall hype and manipulation and just general understanding, yes, you can make just as much money as you could lose, and most likely they will lose more than they win. And why discourage themselves when they're first getting started? So that I'm not someone to try to tell someone like what to invest in. I'm just trying to speak based off of experience and based off the people that I manage within our group, of how like eye-opening it is for people to stop and avoid aggressive trading, and just try to focus on actually understanding first of what you're doing, and then moving into maybe more aggressive trading when you're at that point, right? If you choose to. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Yeah, so it looks like, okay, so now it's starting to show signs of a sell-off for TQQQ, right? Now we're reaching its previous support right around this general area. So can you check out Billy out? I've already check it out. So it's just consolidating. No signs of an uptrend or anything like that. So TQQQ is no longer actively trending up, so I have to change the inverse ETF to SQQQ, as this thing is being more bullish on the day. So will there always be a bounce after a huge sell-off like ADAP? No, there's never an always. There's never an always. There's like there's of what can happen, but there's never an always, and that's why we have to wait for a confirmation, right? So this is called like a dip buy. So when it sells off aggressively and it pushes up, multiple times there's been sell-offs and it continues to sell off. Facebook, for example, it doesn't always end up recovering, and that's something that we have to acknowledge. Also, check out its current volume. So there's a bunch of hype and I believe manipulation that's going on right now for this overall dip buy recovery, maybe of how people are positioning this, right? On why it's a good buy. Again, just lock in profits. If you don't feel comfortable, you don't understand what's causing all this demand, it becomes so overpriced that the following day it usually begins to sell off. I agree. Yep, Pedro saying you guys not making it over the middle VWAP just yet. I agree. I'm not in any position as of right now. It looks like, it's actually just getting rejected right now. So I think we did an amazing job in being extremely patient and selective with you guys, right? We're chilling, we're just hanging out, and we're waiting for its direction to show. Again, it's only 36 minutes after the market has opened. We have hours to take action, and even then, we don't have to take a position today. And that's one of the best things. You can choose to decide what you want to invest in. And if there's no confirmation or nothing looks promising, then guess what? We don't have to take a position. If you could minimize the overall positions that you take within the week, that's ideal. So look, just like we said for JNUG, nice little pushed up to the SMA line and then got rejected, just like expected. Now it's showing signs of it making higher highs or higher lows. Do you see this? As it pushed up, it didn't go as low as it was before. And we might see a change of direction, maybe something to look out for. So that's why I have my alert set up here. So thanks for the advice. Working relatively new and was paying attention to the side. Didn't want to make the mistake in the future. Okay, of course, Vincent. Thank you. What time of the day do you normally take your position? Again, there's no exact time that I like taking positions more than others. Sometimes I take them in the morning. And someone actually asked me yesterday through direct message. I don't know if it was someone within Learn Plan Profit, but what they asked me was Ricky, is it a good idea to take a position within the last hour of the market open? And I think there's too many people there's too many people that talk about what's the best time to enter and exit positions. There's times where the market becomes overall in general more volatile due to it either just opening or just about to close. You have to understand that, right? But ask yourself this: is there going to be a fixed time where always it's going to be a better time to buy or a better time to sell? What's the most important thing? That was a pretty solid red candle. What's the most important thing when it comes down to investing? What's the most important thing? I'm sorry, that's very opinionated. What's the most important thing to me before taking a position? That outweighs what time it is, how many trades, what day out of the week it is, getting a good deal. Why? Because we're deal hunters. If it's not a good deal, then it's not worth the investment. It's not worth the risk, right? It doesn't matter what time it is. Yes, you want to take that into consideration, depending if you want to swing trade it and what can go into that. But don't be so obsessed with what time or what day of the week it is. It's what's the deal? What's the opportunity cost, the margin of profit, and does that weigh the margin of loss, right? And then is this the best investment that you can take altogether? Does it meet all your criteria? That should be what's most important to you. Yes, there's little things of Yes, during the first 15 minutes of the market open, in general, there tends to be more activity because the market just opened. That's normal, that's average. It doesn't mean that it's going to be like that every single time. Same thing with the last 30 minutes of the market close, or last hour, right? The power hour, whatever it is that you want to call it. Again, that's great, it's nice. What's most important to me is understanding overall direction and making sure that we're getting a good deal. I'm going to be making a video this week, Mason, so I'm going to be updating the Learn Plan Profit course. I'm going to be making a video also on YouTube that will talk a little bit more about this. So I'll just put into perspective. The biggest thing is, so you're becoming a little bit hesitant to take a position maybe during pre-market hours and whenever, like maybe right as about the market is about to close. So we've presented this idea before, and it's only if you feel comfortable doing it, but it's the one share like test buy. Do you get what I'm saying? Like instead of buying a large number of shares with your overall account value to actually try to make money, the whole purpose of you taking that one share test buy is to simply test out what you're learning, to have some skin in the game. And obviously because you're only buying one share, all emotions are removed. I mean, mainly, right? Because you're not really buying one share to actually make money. Your sole focus by buying one share is to actually focus in growing it, right? Selling it for a profit and not becoming so obsessed about trying to get in at the lowest price point. So you'll be a little bit more selective. Yeah, and again, it's something that you can test out as you feel more comfortable. So once I make the video, I'll explain it a little bit more in detail. But especially if you're using a brokerage that does not charge commission, the one share test buy, just to buy one share and just focus on it meeting all your criteria and planning out your entire trade. Again, I think it's something that could really start to build confidence as time goes on, as you're actually trying to implement what you're learning. So TQQ, now SQQ selling off. Again, it became overbought, so it makes sense based off of Friday patterns. Do we see this? Do we see why SQQ became a little bit more on the overbought side? So there it goes, starting to show signs of a sell-off. 2%, not bad. That one share trick works. And again, it's just a way to, like, too many people that are trying paper trading might feel very like detached from what they're buying. So they feel like they don't have enough skin in the game. So again, you're trading with fake money. And I get that for those that can't really like make sense of that. But what about then doing that one share test buy? Just another alternative or another way that you can approach the stock market to start and begin to build your confidence. That's the whole point of that. So Mr. Murphy, I opened it as a personal account. LEBD's up. Yep, LEBD is up, but it's also showing signs of it being a little bit more on the overbought side. So about 9%. That's the thing. So how do you deal with loss, especially when you were a new trader, to not get discouraged? That's why I talk about so much about simulation trading and managing how much you're actually trading with, doing that one share test buy. All these things are to not discourage yourself, to first understand what it is that you're doing. When I first started, the reason that I was always I pretty much drained my entire account because I was trading I was focusing on lower cap stocks. But the biggest thing that really kept me going was my overall understanding that people make money in the stock market. And I just need to figure out a way on how to do it. I knew that it was possible. I just knew that I wasn't doing it correctly. That's what kept me going. So yes, I got discouraged time after time. And since I originally was exposed to the market at 14, that doesn't mean that I was trading every single day, even every single month, right? Since I was 14, not at all. There's moments where I had to take breaks because it's a huge, like this mental warfare, right? Of playing with your emotions. But all I knew was that this was a market that I knew people could be successful in. I just needed to figure out a way on how to do it. And that's what kept me going. So I focused so much more on then learning and practicing what I was learning and less on actually trying to make it or break it after that huge loss experience that I had. Oh, 100%. So did you ever leave the market and come back? Of course, multiple times. I love that. Chris, super happy to hear that you really enjoyed it. And that's what it's all about. That's what I think is most effective is like, I think, anyone can try to create the most perfect course out there, but overall what outweighs, like I can't be there with you as you're watching those videos, right? So I don't know how much it's actually sticking, but my biggest suggestion for as someone is working through a course is to practice everything that you learn. So write it down and to keep it very like simple, 20, 30 minutes every day, try to learn something new in the video, but don't exert yourself. Don't just do too much. Practice what you learn, implement it, make sure that it sticks, and then we practice it every single day, right? And you see real world examples, not the pretty perfect picture that sometimes are shown, right, in videos. And it's great to see how we could implement what we learn, and it really begins to stick. So world of pilots. So how long did it take you to become consistent and profitable? So about the consistent part, like, I still have, my red days, right? And every single year I begin to get even more confident and more comfortable in myself as a trader. So it wasn't really that I started like, I want to say, as I got closer to like when I like bought my house and stuff like that, like that's really when I started to aggressively approach like the stock market and really try to like identify it as a source of income. Really, when I really tried to focus on it as that. Other than that, prior to that, it was more of just something like a hobby that I did on the side, kind of like flipping phones, right? It wasn't something that I treated too seriously just because the income level wasn't necessarily there. Here we go. You guys back here, D guys back at $15. How many red days do you have this year? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't keep track of every single red day that I have, as I don't keep track of every single green day that I have. I like that. So I'm treating trading as a full-time income. So that's why, again, when you treat something as more of a full-time income, then you become that much more structured and disciplined, right, with your trading. So again, it's just how you could approach the market. So if you want to approach it in that much more of an aggressive way, the overall time that is probably needed to learn will be expedited. It'll be much quicker, right? Let's see. So drip making higher highs. Oh, appreciate that. Thank you. That's so sweet. Here we go. Do you guys see this pattern real quick with you guys? It's 1%, so it's not huge. I'm gonna look at natural gas. We're getting a lot of consolidation. Do you guys see this? A lot of consolidation right now. Oh, there it goes. Never mind. Good thing we didn't take a position. So I'm just gonna set my alert there, but we're getting a lot of consolidation from natural gas at that general area. So I just thought that maybe it could be a quick day trade, but no. We got LABD just breaking above that price point. Let's see if we could break below this. How do you feel about the trading style of Chris? I don't know who that is. I have no idea who that is. We got Billy showing signs of a sell-off. No, the LPP video does show you the MACD. So the MACD will be presented for you in the LPP video. I don't know if you completed the entire course, Lee, but it does show you the entire video. and what's it called? It shows you all the different settings that I have with the RSI and stuff like that. I saw that you were almost going to answer my question. Why'd you stop? Vanquish, I didn't see your question. Let's see. Yeah, so I'm trying to read. I skimmed through all the questions and try to see which one like is most open-ended to try to answer it. So I apologize if I skipped your question. LABD is tempting, but overbought. Christopher, I feel you. Yep, definitely pushing up. It's almost like FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. So not finished yet. Much appreciated. Okay, yeah, sounds good. So again, it's all in the course on how to set up like the different indicators that I have set up. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I know. I like that. So, Robert, that's a great way to position it. So, I'm more excited looking at LABU. So, talking about waiting for the overall reversal and being extremely patient on that. So, AMD 10 minutes. My question was, why did you stop tracking your trades in green last year? It just came down more to I thought it was more impressive that if you guys were to watch any of my videos that I had within like the first quarter of this year, the market was much more consistent and I wasn't taking my approach was literally swing trading. I was taking much less positions. I would take about maybe 2 to 3, if that, the entire week, which became much easier for me to trade and track my trades altogether. We also had the software linked up where it allowed me to track my trades because of that Trade Olympics application that we were working on. And then it came down to like we had to take it down for beta trials, and then now it's getting published right now in the App Store, which will then again make it much more automated for me to track my trades. But it became much less important after I had like the red day. It became irrelevant. Then it wasn't like so unique or special. So that's why I just decided to move on. So drip continuing to make higher highs. Nice. So is there a reason that you prefer to trade at market open? It's not necessarily that I prefer to trade during that time. It's just, I like waking up early and being productive throughout the day. So, yeah, that's really just it. Other than that, it doesn't really have to do with it being market open. I mean, the volatility is actually it's more present, but other than that, not really. If anything, one thing that we did extremely well last week was we were extremely selective with not trying to minimize the amount of positions that we were to take or would take in the first like hour of the market open. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I did much better during the later hours. Why? And so many of our traders said that as they began to test out. So you guys just had a huge push up. I think that's about 1%. But I don't know if you guys have ever tested this out. But one of the things that we talked about last week within our Learn, Plan, Profit videos is it's very hard to understand a direction of a stock within the first 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes of the market open. So we began to be a little bit more patient and give it 1 full hour, maybe 2 hours before we took our first position because we have more of an understanding of what direction, if it's going up or down on the day, based on us being able to analyze those patterns. So I don't know if you've ever, tested that or if you've struggled to identify direction every time that you buy at market open, it begins to sell off. Maybe being able to be a little bit more selective and patient with the, when you enter your position might be something that could be of use. Yeah. I'm usually like super pumped and super motivated to take a position, especially at market open. But as of right now, you guys, I thought I was going to take a position. It's offering a really nice horizontal pattern as of right now, but no uptrend, right? And this overall SMA line pointing down, kind of sketchy, as that was acting as a support on Friday, which is going to act as a resistance. So it makes me ask myself or wonder, is that margin of profit even worth it? And then right as, as QQQ became overbought, it begins, to shift directions. So, and then JNUG, again, same thing. Pushes, gets rejected, and begins to sell off. It's like, what the heck? Like, make up your mind, But we'll have to try to understand a little bit more like where it's headed and stuff like that, and then choose to take our positions after that. So same thing happening here. Like, it's really hard for me as of right now to try to make sense of what's actively trending up and what's showing signs of a downtrend. So. Wow, that's so cool. I appreciate that, Dakota. So we're right around that 1 hour mark. We're about, 55 minutes in. Okay, so Adam, let me check that out for you. DKS, you're saying? Okay, so DKS is really consolidating. It's not making higher highs. So I can see that it's really trying to reverse, and based off previous patterns, like, yes, it makes sense on why it would. I would just like to get an overall confirmation of an uptrend direction, right? So Dick's Sporting Goods, yes, I agree that it does show potential for a recovery. Now we just have to be that much more patient and selective for the overall reversal. So I'll add this one to my pending reversal watch list, and then we can go from there. So I really appreciate the call out. So no action today. I'll keep you guys up to date with my position, but I don't want to take just a couple seconds ago, it was right at 83, and now it's right back down. So again, this horizontal like resistance and support. Yeah, well, thanks for being a good example of what it means to be patient. At least today, I feel like I'm being a little bit more patient than usual. I have to be completely honest. Again, I'm just as sometimes impatient as some of you, right? And that's a huge area of opportunity for myself. So I'm really happy that I've been able to control that, especially in trying to lead by example. And I think altogether it's only going to act as more of a positive catalyst for all of our success, right? So we got JNUG again, really oversold. So the margin of profit is kind of like what I find attractive on this. So even if it just goes back up to $9, that's 2.25% from the break above 880. So again, I'm being selective or being patient on the entry and being conservative on the resistance. So I'm acting RSI, all look good. Now it's just seeing /GC and the way that could change, right? So it's a descending pattern. So a huge form of risk when investing in something like that. So now you want to ask yourself, is that something that you want to take a position on, right? So do you usually only take a position if it's trading above the middle VWAP? Not always, Alex, but it's something that I really try to focus on. It's definitely a criteria that I want it to meet before taking a position. But yeah, so I'm going to end the live stream here, guys. So I really do appreciate your time. I hope that at least with some of the conversations that we had within this live stream, that it was worth your time. I feel like we started the live stream with great energy. It was very exciting. We gave a lot of good examples about different patterns, best practices, and overall mindset. And I hope it's something that could totally lead to and being a part of your success. So thank you guys again for your time. I wish you guys an amazing Monday. I'll keep you up to date if I end up taking any position. And let's just keep it simple. So I'm just trying to wait for a little bit more confirmation of direction, and then we can go from there. So it looks like JNUG just broke above 880, which is above the 1 day, 1 minute EMA on my chart. So we'll see if it can continue to push up. So thank you guys again for your time. Like always, continue working hard, continue following your dreams. Let your passion be your judgment of success. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.